I usually have a few colds per year, but I haven't had any since the first lockdown in spring last year. I have been masking and disinfecting when appropriate. Is there any downside to having such a prolonged period of inactivity for the immune system?
Um, is there any downside? Conceivably, there is some downside, but I don't think it could come anywhere near the upside that there clearly is. So, let's put it this way. We can make an argument that you will carry immunity away from these little interactions that you have, which will make you susceptible to them if you encounter these bugs in the future. So you could kind of make a weak argument for the benefit of, it's like taking pride in collecting immunological information in your system, but you're much better off just never having had these bugs. And if you get them later, then you'll pick up the immunity. So I would say, don't question it. Stay away from these bugs.
The capacity for adaptive immunity doesn't decline, right? The exposure, the fact that you might have a slight head start on something should you be exposed in a larger dose will not exist. But the capacity to develop adaptive immunity does not decline just because your immune system has spent a year not mostly being exposed to things.
It wouldn't be that. It will decline a little bit because you'll be older. But I would just say, the thing that we never talk about is that all of these diseases that have symptoms because they're doing tissue damage, and that tissue damage has a cost that we don't typically measure. And so, you in theory have the capacity to live to 120 years of age. You won't because you will have encountered all sorts of things that damaged you along the way and burned up some of the capacity that you would have needed to be present in order to get to 120. And if we turned the dial in favor of more repair capacity, then you'd probably die much earlier of cancer. So anyway, those two things have been balanced. But the basic point is, look, if you can avoid the damage that comes with being sick, and the downside is that you might get sick with that thing later, there might be a tiny little extra cost to being sick with it later. On the other hand, if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, then you weren't sick ahead of time and you got away with it. So anyway, I would say, I think the answer you're looking for is no, it's a slam dunk win, right? Does it mean that if we analyze the downside in isolation that it's zero? It's not zero. It might be something, but it's going to be tiny relative to the upside. Go with it, stay healthy, and to the extent that you can learn the lessons of 2020 and 2021 and figure out how never to get these diseases in future cold seasons, all the better.